Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Stephanie.
I am Tom.
It's our society unit, and we're going to be talking about something called the sharing economy, which is pretty new, I would say, in the last 15 years. We've heard more about the sharing economy. And today we're going to focus in on a couple of different ways we have the ability to share with people around us. We all know about, for example, Uber or U-Bike, or even Airbnb, but we're going to talk about a couple of new ideas I had not heard of that I think are kind of cool. Have you ever participated, Tom, in the sharing economy?
Well, yeah, you mentioned U-Bike there. Of course, just the other day, I rode a U-Bike from Shandao Temple, from that area down to CKS Hall there. What is it, Freedom Plaza or whatever. I went there to meet my wife there because she wanted to look at the flowers. But in any case, there are other ways to participate in the sharing economy. You can stay at an Airbnb, or maybe you could let somebody use your car for a while. We've got all sorts of examples in today's lesson. So let's find out what this is all about in our society unit for the month of May. Let's listen from the top to bottom, and we'll be right back to talk about it. In Taiwan, people can use a platform to rent a power washer for a weekend or share unused garage space for someone's storage needs. These are examples of the sharing economy, a consumption model that has gained widespread adoption worldwide. This approach allows people to rent or share assets like cars, homes, or even services, typically through online platforms. This innovative model poses a simple yet powerful question. Why purchase infrequently used items when sharing is more practical? By making useful but idle resources accessible, the sharing economy turns them into sustainable opportunities. Internationally, platforms like Airbnb and Uber have popularized another part of the sharing economy. Airbnb enables homeowners to rent out spare rooms. This service provides travelers with affordable and unique accommodations while giving hosts an additional source of income. Uber, on the other hand, not only offers convenient transportation options, but also creates flexible job opportunities. This model also reduces the need for vehicle ownership among occasional users. Beyond these well-known platforms, new sharing methods are emerging. The New York Public Library, for instance, offers free clothing rentals for job interviews. It helps individuals such as recent graduates or the unemployed make a good first impression. Similarly, platforms like Rent the Runway allow women who don't want to spend a lot of money on designer attire to rent it for special occasions at lower costs. Moreover, some sharing platforms let community members borrow items like tools or kitchenware. Freelancers also contribute by offering services such as dog walking or personal assistance. Despite its popularity, the sharing economy faces challenges. Critics point out issues such as inconsistent service quality, unclear regulations, and potential over-reliance on these platforms. However, these concerns haven't diminished the impact of the sharing economy. As it evolves, the sharing economy is inspiring new ways to use resources and create a more communal future.
Okay, guys, let's dive in. The sharing economy. And then we've got a colon. And after that colon, it usually means something that describes what you have in the words that precede the colon. What's a sharing economy? A way to access what you need. To access something is to have the ability to use something, to get at something. So what's a sharing economy? We're going to talk more about this. Let's look at economy first. It's one of our vocabulary words. It's the way a nation or people make money and where their money comes from. Maybe they're primarily farmers, or maybe they work in the computer industry. Maybe they have a country that focuses on the silicon chip, like we do here in Taiwan. There are different ways to build your economy. Here we're talking about the sharing economy, how people share what they own. And in Taiwan, people can use a platform to rent a power washer for a weekend or share unused garage space for someone's storage needs. So in the first paragraph, we're going to give you specific examples of how the sharing economy works right here in our own country of Taiwan.
Yep, it's a platform. Usually a platform is online. It's a website and you go there and people interact at that place. You get services and things like that. So it's a platform in which you can find these devices. You might want to rent a power washer, okay, for a weekend. You don't need it all the time. You just need it once or twice, maybe once in a while. Or you might get some unused garage space for someone's storage needs. So maybe you're going to move or something and your new house isn't ready, so you need to put your stuff someplace before you make the move, so you actually can use someone's unused garage space. I've got some space in my garage, which of course is where you park your car if you have a garage in your own house. I think most people in Taiwan do not have garages, whereas in the USA, with the exception of New York or Chicago or places like that, most people have homes that have garages. And yes, you also have a lot of stuff in your garage as well.
Oh, yeah. You have lots of storage stuff. You might have your lawnmower in your garage. You might have your bikes in your garage. I'm thinking of my brother's house that I just came back from. He has lots of building equipment because he likes to do construction in his free time. He likes to build cabinets and things for his home. So he keeps those in his garage. Storage is when you have a place where you keep things that you can easily get access to or get to, but maybe that you don't use all the time. And so if you have storage needs, you probably need a big empty space where you can put some things for a while. I actually rent storage space in America for some of my belongings that I can't ship to Taiwan, but I still want in case I ever go back home. And I pay a monthly fee for that empty container. So these are just some ideas that people can use or how they can use the sharing economy. I wanted to mention when you say platform, guys, it means also besides these big online platforms like Instagram or Facebook or X.com. It could be just an app on your phone. So it could be a website or an app. And you can go to some of these different platforms. We just say platform in general and try to rent something that people own themselves, but they don't use all the time. So they figure they might as well get some profit from it. For example, when I was home just a couple months ago to see my family, my sister wanted to clean her carpets, deep clean her carpets. So she went to an app, a website, and she rented a carpet cleaner from an individual, and she used it for a couple of days and then returned it. And that person who owns the carpet cleaner was able to make some extra money from my sister's renting of her carpet cleaner.
Indeed. So sometimes you can rent something that you only need to use once. So that's very useful for this particular platform. And we gave you some examples here. You want to rent a power washer or use somebody's garage for some storage and put your things in storage. That's how we say you have things that are stored someplace. Well, these are examples of the sharing economy, a consumption model that has gained widespread adoption worldwide. Okay, so again, these are examples of the sharing economy because lots of people are participating in these kinds of activities. It's a model of consumption, which is when consumers use various products and services. And of course, it has become widespread around the world. Widespread just means it's spread over a wide area. It's available in many countries and many continents and in areas. I'm sure it's available here in Taiwan as well. Yes, indeed, this does sound very useful because, hey, why do you want to buy a power washer if you're only going to use it once? Then it's just going to sit there and rust and get old and be useless.
Right. So this approach allows people to rent or share assets. Asset is something valuable that you own. Here are some examples: cars, homes, or even services that you can provide. These are typically through online platforms. We talked about that, either websites, apps, things like that. This innovative model poses a simple yet powerful question. What's the question? Why purchase infrequently used items when sharing is more practical? That's a good question. Some of these things that are not used very often are also quite expensive. So the fact that you could actually rent out this particular asset would be nice. If it's innovative, it's advanced, it's original, it's creative. Someone can be innovative by coming up with really creative ideas themselves, or something can be creative or innovative like this model we're talking about. It's kind of a new idea, something that maybe people haven't thought of before. It's innovative, which is a great way to be if you're working in business in particular.
I'm also thinking of an idea. There may be something you want to buy, but you're not sure if you want it because you've never tried it before.
Right.
For example, I was thinking about getting an electric bicycle recently. It might be more convenient to get around the neighborhood, but I've never ridden one before, and I don't want to spend a lot of money on something that I'll only use once and think, this is not for me. What am I going to do with this thing? So maybe I can rent it from somebody just to try it out, and if I like it, I can buy one myself. So that's another possibility there. And yes, indeed, it goes on to say, by making useful but idle resources accessible, the sharing economy turns them into sustainable opportunities. Sustainable just means you can use it over and over again. You're going to make those resources accessible. If something's accessible, people can get to it, people can use it, and we're describing idle resources. If something's idle, it's just sitting there and it's not doing anything. Like your car will be in idle at the stoplight. It will just be running, but you're not actually going anyplace. Some people actually turn off their engines to save gasoline that way. But here, these are idle resources. Yeah, they're just sitting there. They're just taking up space, and they become more accessible. Hey, we can share these and make a little bit of money.
If you describe a person as being idle, it could mean they're trying to avoid work, that they're lazy. Don't be idle is one of the things that we're raised with believing. You need to be up and about, doing something useful. As Tom said, sometimes our cars, when we stop them at a stoplight, they're on, the engine's on, but they're not moving, they're not active. We'll say our car is idling. Yeah, my car is idling. So, yeah, you don't want to have these idle resources just sitting there and not being used for good. So that's why the sharing economy has become something that people are looking into. Now, internationally, we've got platforms like the very famous Airbnb that's been around for quite a while, and Uber. They've popularized another part of the sharing economy. Airbnb enables or allows homeowners to rent out spare rooms. Now, my own experience, Tom, is that when I get a place on Airbnb, it's a separate apartment or a separate house that someone owns that they're renting out. But you could, I guess, rent out spare rooms in someone's house if that's a possibility. And then Uber, of course, is something that I think all of us use quite a bit. Just to get a car and go from place to place.
Indeed, this reminds me of my family's trip to Japan last year. I think we actually went through some platform. Actually, we knew somebody who knew somebody, and we ended up staying in somebody's house. In Japan, it was actually an actual house in Osaka, and we were able to stay there and find out what it's like to live in a Japanese house, even though it wasn't actually renting someone's room. I've had that happen before. I think we stayed with somebody in Hualien once. They just rented out spare rooms. The family still lives there. You can chat with them, but then you get your own room.
That seems more like a bed and breakfast to me.
Minsu, more like that. But it kind of blurs the line between those things here. But this service provides travelers with affordable and unique accommodations while giving hosts an additional source of income. I think it's also good because, hey, this way you can meet the host of the house, you can chat, you can have a conversation, and maybe you can actually meet other guests there and share information and make new friends and things like that.
Yeah.
Instead of like when you stay in a hotel, you're just pretty much in your room by yourself and you don't really interact with other people. So that's pretty cool. And Uber, on the other hand, not only offers convenient transportation options, but also creates flexible job opportunities. So we've all heard of Uber. I know one guy who drives Uber here in Taiwan. What was it? The landlord took over his company or something like that, and instead of moving, he decided, I'm just going to drive Uber and make money that way. So yes, that can provide convenient transportation options. Transportation is when you're moving things or people from one place to another.
Yeah. Now, it also creates flexible job opportunities. You might have another full-time job, and then in the evening, you might want to boost your income by perhaps driving an Uber car and taking people from place to place as a taxi or a cab would. Or maybe you're delivering things like delivering food or products for Uber. But you can decide when you want to work, what hours are most flexible for you. So that's also very appealing to people in the sharing economy. Our economy isn't great right now, and so picking up an extra gig job, a gig job is just one job at a time. They're different, they're separate from each other. That can help a lot of people as well. We're going to listen right now, guys, to our Chinese teacher, and then we'll be back to continue talking about the sharing economy.
Hello everyone, 我是 Patrick 老师，今天讲解的是5月12号 Unit6。好，要介绍的呢是共享经济。大家也可以看到这个单元是文意选填的练习题哦，但是内容呢是跟共享经济有关的，就是 sharing economy。我相信很多听众都使用过 YouBuy， 是不是觉得很方便？那有很多县市啊，甚至于使用时前30分钟是免费的。那想骑车代步，不想要买自己的脚踏车，也不想要定期支出保养，会不会觉得 YouBuy 很方便？那 YouBuy 呢，其实就是一个共享经济的实例。好，那在主题解说前，老师要再提醒大家，做文意选填的时候先看看选项，那标示一下它们的词性，因为很多时候我们可以先判断这个空格要填什么词性，这样子就可以缩小选项的可能性了。好，那我们一起来解题。先看到第一题，段落开头就提到国内有很多共享经济的例子，包括租用高压清洗机，还有呢他人没有在使用的车库可以拿来当做储藏室。那在台湾也好，或者世界其他各地，我们都可以看得到这种消费模式。再来就是第一题的题干哦，提到这种方式让民众可以去租赁或者共享空格，比方说汽车、房屋，甚至于服务，通常透过线上的平台进行。这个句子缺乏名词来当做前面动词 rent or share 的受词，然后后面的汽车、房屋，甚至是服务，都可以放在这个名词的分类当中。所以这个应该要选 J assets 资产。那第一题正确答案是 J。 我们紧接着看第二题。这种创新的模型提出了简单有力的问题，当共享更空格的时候呢，我们为什么还要去购买并不是很常用的东西呢？第二题的空格前面是比较级 more， 在更前面是 be 动词 is， 那空格应该是形容词，考量文意的前后连贯，因此第二题我们选 D practical， 实际可行的务实的。第二题正确答案是 D。 我们接着看第三题，请看第二段，助动词 have 之后应该要加过去分词作为现在完成式。我们从选项里面挑选一个符合前后文意的，所以第三题答案选 A popularize， 使普及推广的意思。这句话表示 Airbnb 还有像 Uber 这样的平台已经让共享经济的另外一部分相当普及了。再来我们看第四题， rooms 前面需要形容词修饰，考量前后文意，我们选 G spare， 是多余空闲的意思，表示 Airbnb 让屋主可以把这些空的房间出租出去。第四题的正确答案选 G。 再来我们看第五题。好，这项服务为旅客提供经济实惠而且呢独特的住宿，同时也帮屋主提供了额外的空格来源。那接系是 of， 后面需要名词，我们选 C income 收入所得，表示呢这项服务同时也帮屋主提供了额外的收入来源。第五题答案选 C。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Okay, let's continue with our lesson. Of course, we've been talking about renting things to people or renting space to people, but there are some other ideas that people have. So let's talk about some other platforms. Beyond these well-known platforms, or in addition to these well-known platforms of Uber and Airbnb and stuff like that, new sharing methods are emerging. Okay, people are coming up with new interesting ideas to share things with people. Let's give you an example. The New York Public Library, for example, offers free clothing rentals for job interviews. Indeed, of course, you want to look your best if you're going to have a job interview, but maybe you don't have a suit. They can be kind of expensive, and you're not really sure if you're going to get the job anyway. So, well, the New York Library probably has a room where they have all these suits that you can go in and look at and browse and pick one out. And, hey, I'm going to wear this for my job interview for a job in Wall Street or something like that. And then when I'm done with the interview, I can return the suit.
So, yeah, this is a great idea for those who are just finishing their college years, their university years, or maybe they've been out of work for a while. If you buy a nice dress or a suit, it can be quite expensive. So this is a nice idea from the New York Public Library. It's interesting because the library has nothing to do with clothing or renting or anything like that. So it's kind of interesting that they came up with this idea on their own. But it's to help people, which I appreciate. It does help individuals like recent graduates or the unemployed. Because when you go to a job interview, the one thing you want to do is leave a good first impression. Usually with job interviews, it's not just once. You're brought back again, maybe for a second or third round. So you want to make a good first impression. Now, in the same way or similarly, we've got platforms like, and this one's called Rent the Runway. This is a platform that allows women who don't want to spend a lot of money on designer attire to rent that kind of clothing for special occasions at a much lower cost. If you've ever been out there and had to buy designer wear or gowns for, balls or really special occasions, it's very pricey, very expensive. When I performed, I would have to wear those kind of gowns on stage, and wow, it would cost a lot of money. So this is a great way to save some money. We rarely wear these kind of dresses anyway, Tom, so why not rent it? A runway is that narrow platform that models will walk on to show off the new clothes that they're wearing. Or it could be that strip of paved ground that planes take off from and land on. That's also a runway. But here's a great idea. Attire, guys, is another word for clothing, but we usually use it for special clothing, more fancy clothing, and not just for jeans and t-shirts.
Right, so you need to have special attire for special situations like a wedding or a bar mitzvah or a quinceañera or whatever. You'll have to wear a special kind of clothes for situations like that. And, of course, they will be at lower costs. You just rent it and return it, and then somebody else can use it. Of course, here in Taiwan, I hear about women renting bridal gowns all the time because why would you want to own that? You're only going to use it once in your life. Some women insist on keeping it because, it's a memento or something like that.
Or they give it to their daughters.
Possibly in the future. Or maybe the guys will rent a diamond ring for their fiancé and then she'll send it back to the store. Fat chance. Of course, the bride is going to want to keep that forever. But in any case here, yes, you might rent that attire for special occasions. Moreover, or in addition, some sharing platforms let community members borrow items like tools or kitchenware. Okay, so these are other platforms, other opportunities that allow people or members of a community or of society to borrow items such as tools or kitchenware. You're going to work on a special project at home, but you don't want to buy all the tools for that, a hammer, nails, screwdrivers, wrenches, or whatever. You don't really want to buy those tools because you're never going to use them again. You're only going to use them one time. So yes, you can borrow those items and maybe rent them as well. Or perhaps kitchenware. You're going to prepare a special kind of meal, but it's only for one occasion, so you need to rent these items such as pots and pans or spatulas or whatever.
Or maybe those KitchenAid mixers that you've seen that cost a lot of money if you buy your own. Maybe you want to borrow one just to see if you like making bread one day. Who knows? So freelancers are people who are their own bosses. They work separate jobs based on their skills and their time. They can also contribute to these platforms by offering their own services, like dog walking, which is popular in big cities, of course, or for elderly who can't get out and walk their dogs so much anymore. Or maybe they're offering personal assistance of some sort. Assistance just means help. So these are also some things you might find on these platforms. Now, here are some negatives. We always need to bring up the cons. We've talked about the pros of the sharing economy. Despite its popularity, the sharing economy faces challenges. Hey, you might rent out something that means a lot to you, and it might be returned broken or destroyed. So you need to think about that too.
Yeah, it's not ideal. There are problems here, and critics point out issues such as inconsistent service quality, unclear regulations, and potential over-reliance on these platforms. So these are critics. These are people who look for the bad parts of this particular platform, and they say, the service quality will be inconsistent. You got different people doing these things. Some people may be good at it. Some others may be bad. And then the regulations are not clear. Is this legal? Can people be doing this? Do you have to report taxes and things like that? And also, people might be over-reliant on these platforms. They need them too much, and then other people will be out of jobs. Say, for example, taxi drivers may have fewer customers because there are so many Uber drivers.
Now, these concerns haven't diminished the impact of the sharing economy. It's still thriving. As it evolves or changes over time, the sharing economy is inspiring new ways to use resources and create a more communal future. Communal means people sharing things together and not owning privately. But I have to say, Tom, in my view, a lot of us want to own our own things. And I think it's just a common urge that all people have, and it's one of freedom. Freedom, if you own your own stuff, you don't have to rely on other people. It's there for you. I know a lot of young couples that want to own their own homes, their own apartments. They don't want to share or rent. So there is that to be considered as well. I think the globalists would like us to just all rent or share and not own anything. But, it comes down to me, a matter of freedom. So I'd like to have both. I'd like to be able to share if I want to and own when I want to as well.
That's reasonable. Also, this might actually hurt the economy because, of course, a lot of times we buy things that we don't really need, but that helps companies manufacture these things and employ people and things like that. That might be something else to consider.
True.
It might have economic repercussions as well. Okay, so that brings us to the end of our explanation for today. Here comes our Chinese teacher, whom we're going to share with you now.
再来看到第6题，前面的句子提到，除了这些知名的平台以外，新的共享方式不断的在出现。比方说，纽约公共图书馆提供免费的面试服装租借服务。而空格呢，应该要填名词。作为前面的 helps 的受词，等于是图书馆面试服装租借服务的受惠对象。后面的毕业生、待业求职者就是举例。所以呢，第6题我们选 F individuals， 帮助这些个人、这些对象。再来看到第7题，同样像 Rent the Runway 这样的平台，让不想花大钱买设计师服饰的女性，能够以空格价格借衣服出席特殊的场合。那空格呢，应该要填形容词去修饰后面的名词 cost 成本或代价。所以第7题选 I lower， 表示呢用比较低的价格就可以租到了。再来看到第8题，前一句提到，此外一些共享平台也允许社团成员借用工具或者厨具等物品。接着是题干，自由工作者也空格提供遛狗或个人协助等服务，整个句子缺乏主要动词，空格应该要填动词，考量前后文的意思，所以选 E contribute 贡献、提供，意思是共享经济的平台让 freelancers 这些自由接案的人也可以在这里找到需要服务的客户。再来我们看第9题，空格在所有个 at 后面应该要填名词。整个题干句子的意思是共享经济虽然空格，但是面临了挑战。考量前后文意，所以答案选 B popularity 受欢迎。那意思就是说共享经济虽然很受欢迎啊，不过这样子的共享经济是有一些挑战的。最后第10题助动词 haven't 之后，空格应该填过去分词 H 这个 diminished， 这个过去分词 diminished 是减少降低的意思。整句话的意思是说，然而这些担忧并没有削弱共享经济的影响。所以第10题正确答案选 H。 好，以上就是我们针对文意选填这一篇文章所做的中文讲解，谢谢大家。
That's all for today, everybody. Thanks for joining us, and make sure you join us again next time. And maybe amongst yourselves, you can discuss some options for the sharing economy. Yes, what sort of ideas can you come up with, and how can you save some money in the process? From all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
Goodbye.
Bye.